Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the southeast. The father of a Peacehaven man who died after being struck by a police car says he'll fight for answers.
He deserves justice, and that is my duty to make sure that justice is done.
Heading home, the two ferry workers who claim they were sacked for poor English get ready for their 5,000-mile journey from Kent to Central America.
Also this Wednesday, the secret of being 105 years young. Ashford celebrates Joyce Dawes, who remembers 2 world wars and 2 pandemics.
And how you can make sure your dog is happy and settled as they adjust to less time with their owners. Good evening. Sussex Police is under further pressure tonight as the father of the man who died after being hit by a police car in Peacehaven says he's prepared to take legal action.
Jens Holscher has also criticised the force for their lack of communication following his son Arthur's death on Saturday night.
ITV News Meridian has obtained footage of the moments before the 27-year-old was struck. With the latest, here's James Dunham.
11:11 Saturday night on the South Coast Road. The final moments of Arthur Holscher-Ermit's life as he was being chased by police. His figure appears from the left in this dashcam footage shared to us by his family. In the distance, a police car approaches. Moments later, Arthur is knocked down. He died from his injuries.
It was just a state of shock, and I'm still under shock.
Jens Holscher found out about his son's death while he was in Germany. He returned to his home in Bournemouth yesterday and says contact from Sussex Police has been minimal.
I do think a senior officer should have been here and hasn't been. I mean, today, it's, as you said, it's a few days later, and still we haven't seen anybody. I think that is disgraceful.
Arthur's family want answers following Saturday's fatal collision. Witnesses have said he was restrained as he lay on the ground. Sussex Police won't comment in detail until a report by the Independent Office for Police Conduct is complete. Investigators from the Independent Police Watchdog will be walking along this road in the coming days, speaking to people who might have seen what's happened here on Saturday night and collect any CCTV evidence. Their fact-finding mission is designed to deliver the truth, but also to determine whether or not any action needs to be taken against Sussex Police. At the roadside shrine to Arthur, tributes talk of heartache and sadness, but also justice. His family say they are prepared to take legal action and are being supported by the charity Inquest.
Any use of police force, any police pursuit on the road has the potential to cause death and has to be proportionate to the circumstances. And this case raises serious questions about what those circumstances were, why the decisions were made, and how this man came to his death.
He deserves justice, and that is my duty to make sure that justice is done in this matter, and we will go all the way that's necessary.
Arthur's mother died 3 years ago. Jens is pursuing his campaign with the comfort he says of knowing his son is now with his late mother.
Well, at Sussex Police Headquarters for us now is James Dunham. James, have we heard anything else from the police force at all?
Sussex Police, Matt, said that it's now down to the police watchdog to liaise with the family because they are now looking into the circumstances of what's happened on Saturday night. But I think responding to the sense of grief in the community, the force did put out a further statement saying they extend their sympathies to Arthur's family and friends, that they understand the strength of feeling in the community.
And where are we with that independent investigation? What's the latest on that?
Well, Sussex Police says it's cooperating fully with the Independent Office for Police Conduct. They've told us today that they are analysing dashcam footage of that fatal collision, the footage which you saw at the top of my report. What will feed into their investigation, which is still in its early stages, will be the results of a post-mortem examination, which we are expected to be carried out, Matt, by the end of this week.
OK, James, for now, thank you.
Former police officer Wayne Couzens, who killed Sarah Everard, is having his prison sentence reviewed at the Court of Appeal. Senior judges have been hearing an appeal against his whole life term. 49-year-old Couzens was handed the sentence last year for the rape and murder of 33-year-old Sarah Everard after he abducted her in South London during lockdown.
ITV News cameras have been given access to the compound in Dover where migrant boats are stored. In the last few days, well over 500 people have made the crossing in boats from Calais and the French coast. The boats are stored for a year before being processed. The Dover MP says she's certain that the crossings will stop with the threat of deportation to Rwanda and cooperation with Paris.
Well, it's been less than a month since this new package of measures, including Rwanda, were announced. And over that time, there's been a whole 11 days where we've not seen any crossings whatsoever. So it's really important that we now take note that the people smugglers themselves are saying that there's only a window to get into the UK. So now we need to make sure that we see the French match our resolve and actually tackle the boats on their side and stop them entering the water.
And there's more on that story on the national news at 6:30.
2 agency workers hired by P&O Ferries have told ITV Meridian they have been sacked without notice because they couldn't speak English well enough.
Jose Alfaro and Hugo Corletto say they felt bullied over the language barrier and criticised working conditions on board. P&O told us the workers did not meet the required standards and have now paid for their return trip. Sarah Saunders reports.
Bags packed, ready to return 5,000 miles home. After being recruited as chefs from across the globe in Guatemala and Honduras, these P&O agency workers say they were sacked with barely a day's notice for poor English language skills. The pair say they felt bullied over the language barrier and weren't supported through training.
They say we not speak English very good, but in the ship there is plenty of people from the other country. You get the same problem, no? Because there is Indian, French, and the other people, they don't speak too good English. Listen, the experience in this company is very bad.
For example, my case, it's not sleep so much. I have so much stress.
Agency staff were employed below the minimum wage when P&O controversially sacked all its 800 seafaring workers. Jose and Hugo said they were sent ashore from the detained Pride of Kent without their contracted 14 days notice and have not been paid for that time. And the RMT union is investigating the sacked workers' concerns about their working hours.
Well, I don't think it could be more appalled after what happened on the 17th of March, but what this identifies is that there's a systematic culture of exploitation now within P&O and that they will do anything possible in order to maximise profit, and if that means jeopardising the safety, if that means bringing seafarers in from the other side of the world and exploiting them on whatever terms, then so be it, because that's what they have become.
Jose and Hugo say they aren't alone and that other employees are too scared to speak out about working conditions in case they are fired. P&O told us seafarers were released from the Pride of Kent as they did not meet the standards required by P&O. They were provided with hotel accommodation and had their return flights paid. They were treated in accordance with their contracts in relation to their pay and end-of-contract provisions, with benefits provided beyond contractual requirements. It said P&O continue to require industry-leading standards from our crews. Sarah Saunders, ITV News.
House prices are rising faster in Southend-on-Sea than anywhere else in the southeast. Property company Rightmove says asking prices in the city are up more than 13% year on year to £343,000 on average. House prices in Britain have risen by more than a fifth since the start of the pandemic.
27 defibrillators have been installed around Swale following a £20,000 grant from the Borough Council. They've been issued to village halls, churches and car parks.
A health pressure group says standards of emergency care at the Royal Sussex County Hospital are not being met. Healthwatch Brighton and Hove says it's had patient complaints about poor social distancing in an overcrowded A&E department, lack of privacy and lack of pain relief. The group's been advising the Care Quality Commission.
We really felt that the information we were hearing from patients we couldn't keep silent about. We felt that some of these issues really had to be addressed, which is why we published the report. But as I say, the report goes back to as far as September last year. And we actually delayed publishing the report to give the hospital a chance to improve the urgent treatment centre area and also to address some of the issues. But it wasn't something that we felt that we could just walk away from.
Well, the Royal Sussex Hospital said they wish to offer their sincere apologies to patients, adding that the A&E departments have been under extraordinary pressure, especially over the winter.
A new outdoor space has been opened at Medway Maritime Hospital. This time-lapse footage shows the 2-week transformation to make a reflection garden. It's been designed as a quiet space for staff to recover from the pressures of working in the hospital. The garden will be open to patients and their visitors once COVID measures are lifted.
A giant mural representing Brighton's relationship with the sea and its history as a fishing community has been unveiled in the city. Named Neptune Towers, the work by local artist Cosmo Sarson sits 10 metres high on the side of a building at Edward Street Quarter.
You're watching ITV News here in the Meridian region with Matt and Sankita. Thank you so much for watching us. Coming up, is your dog depressed or is your Alsatian unattentive? We tell you how to get a spring in their step once more.
And we'll meet Joyce as her long life is celebrated in a garden in Ashford.
And remember, you can find more on today's top stories from right across the southeast by heading to our website. Please go to itv.com/Meridian. You can call us on 0808 1010 095. And remember, you can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter and our Instagram pages.
Now, thousands of people across the southeast are waiting months for new and replacement driving licences because of a huge backlog at the DVLA, the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Agency.
People with medical conditions are often experiencing the biggest delays. Some have lost job opportunities as a result. Tonight, the government is threatening to privatise parts of the service unless the situation improves. Here's John Ryle.
At 76, Lawrence Argent says getting out and about is vital for his physical and mental health. And as pandemic restrictions wound down, he looked forward to driving once again to see friends and family and his favourite steam trains. But he and his reliant Robin have been grounded by the DVLA. He applied for a new licence in February and is still waiting.
The car's essential. I want to go out anywhere.
Yeah, he can't walk, so yeah, it's essential for him to get out and about.
He has arthritis and a pacemaker, but doctors have confirmed to DVLA that he's fit to drive.
Pacemaker is fine. He's better now with it than he was without it.
He's had to attend medical appointments by taxi, which has stretched his pension. Dozens of calls to the DVLA have all ended the same way.
If you try and phone up and it says we're experiencing high levels of calls and please try again later, and then it just cuts you off.
During the pandemic, the backlog of driving licence applications peaked at 1.2 million. It still stands at 400,000, with the government threatening privatisation of the service unless there's rapid progress.
I know he must be fed up, but I'm fed up because he can't get anywhere. Yeah. So we've not been out together as a family since February time.
In a statement, DVLA said it could not discuss individual cases, sometimes complicated by medical issues, but hoped to issue Lawrence's licence in the next few days. John Ryle, ITV News, Stamford-le-Hope.
A new awareness campaign is underway to let many drivers know they can alert the emergency services if they're involved in an accident without having to pick up their phone.
Well, the technology already exists and has been installed in new cars and vans for the past 4 years, although most drivers don't seem to know that it's there. Lauren Hall reports.
Modern vehicles are full of safety features, from airbags to automatic braking. But did you know about this one? For the past few years, all new cars have had to be fitted with something called the e-call system. Now that means if you get behind the wheel and end up in a crash which sets off the airbags, it will automatically trigger an alert to the emergency services. There's also a button up here so you can contact them manually if you end up in any other dangerous situation. For example, if you break down on a busy road or if you spot an obstruction. So it's pretty useful technology. The only issue is that most drivers don't seem to know about it, so they're driving around none the wiser. We asked drivers in Hove what they knew about it.
In the centre console at the bottom left-hand side. I wouldn't particularly use it. I don't see, there's a particular need for it, but I do know they're in there, yeah.
I think it's a pretty good idea, especially with a young one, and if I'm kind of stuck somewhere and I can press it and it's easy to reach, would be brilliant. So I have to have a look where it is in my car.
Especially if it's something like one of these so-called smart motorways, it would get through a lot quicker doing that, but I don't know. Is it somebody tracking you again, checking where you are and etc, etc.
It's thought more than 5 million vehicles now have this built-in safety feature. But a survey of drivers found 2/3 aren't aware of it, and only 1 in 5 knew where to find the SOS button. That's why National Highways are trying to raise awareness of this new technology.
It's quite scary, honestly, that a lot of people don't know these things about their cars. We just want people to travel safely on our network, and we want everyone to get home safe and well in the end of the day. And if people use this technology when they are in trouble, we can get to them quicker, we get them out of the way quicker, and them, everyone else who's travelling and ourselves are all safer.
Time is of the essence, especially in the very worst case scenarios.
If you're in a severe collision, the vehicle will automatically contact an operator. An operator will then talk to you and ask you whether you're all right. Maybe you're not, maybe you're unconscious, and then they will automatically call the emergency services. And it increases response time by about 50%. So it's very, very good at getting people, in that what we call the golden hour after a severe collision.
As well as alerting the emergency services, it lets them know the vehicle's location and direction of travel, which is what makes it so effective.
It's already saving lives, it's already improving response times of emergency vehicles, and it's like your airbags or your emergency braking system. It will just do it at the time that you need it.
Drivers may not know much about it, but this new technology is saving lives and accelerating road safety. Lauren Hall, ITV News.
So now you know where it is, where the buttons are.
I need to go and find mine.
Go and have a look.
Yeah.
Check. Now the ITV Evening News, of course, continues with the national and international headlines at 6:30. With the details, here's Mary Nightingale.
Coming up in the programme, a final push from party leaders as tomorrow's local elections loom. But what will sway voters heading to the polls? Will it be Partygate, the cost of living crisis, or issues closer to home? Should taking a life mean spending the rest of yours behind bars? The high-profile killers bidding to have their sentences reduced. We catch up with the orphans from Dnipro who found new homes in Scotland. And from Hand of God to Under the Hammer, we'll have all the drama behind the sale of that Maradona shirt. So what did it go for? Well, we will bring you the answer to that and much more at 6:30.
Give you a clue, it was a lot of money.
A lot
of money. Now there are suggestions that dog owners should take more notice of their pet's mood, with concerns that up to 3/4 of them are exhibiting symptoms of anxiety or depression.
Results of a recent survey into canine mental health also suggest that only 1/3 of owners can spot the signs. It can often lead to behavioural problems further down the line if left unchecked. With more, Nick Smith.
While the last 2 years may have been an anxious time for us humans, for our four-legged friends, many of them are now struggling themselves to adjust to us not being around as much as we revert back to spending less time in our homes. Vets like Dr. Jacqueline Cole, who has clients across Sussex, think it's important that owners pay close attention to any changes in their dog's behaviour to spot signs that things aren't quite right.
So there are some subtle signs, like you will see dogs who might be licking their lips, might be sort of withdrawing. Other dogs might sort of have what we call the whale eye, where they kind of look around, you see more of the whites of their eyes. Other things that are more obvious is destructive behaviors, repetitive things, what they call almost obsessive compulsive, where they do the same thing, or they chew the same spot, or they go over and over and over doing the same sort of behavior.
Dog depression and anxiety could be far more common than we realise. A study by Guide Dogs UK involving 1,000 owners found 74% of pets exhibit behaviours linked to it, suggesting nationwide up to 8 million dogs are affected. The scientific officer behind the research has suggested the causes can be widespread, but one major factor is dogs adjusting to a post-COVID world where humans are spending less time with them.
Look at what's happening. Are you leaving the house and suddenly the dog is kind of behaving differently, especially with the pandemic, recovery from the pandemic. We're getting back to normal. Children are going back to school. We're going back to work. And actually, it's a very big change for those dogs. So dogs don't cope very well sometimes with changes. Dogs are very social creatures. They're very intelligent creatures. They really need that mental stimulation as well to make sure they're being happy and healthy. And so without that, unfortunately, we can lead to boredom, frustration, anxiety, all of which will cause your dog distress.
So what can we do to ensure our dogs live happy and enriched lives? One animal behaviourist has some top tips on keeping them mentally stimulated.
First of all, if you know what the trigger is, if there's something specific that's causing it, then I would try and just, in the meantime, prevent the dog from being able to rehearse that behaviour. So if you can just minimise them being exposed to that situation, that would be the first thing. The second thing is if you can provide your dog with lots of opportunities for chewing, for licking, for sleeping and for sniffing. Those are really important behaviours for all dogs to just help them feel good. It releases endorphins in the brain and makes them feel a lot happier.
Dogs are proven to provide a huge boost to our own mental health and well-being. So maybe it's only fair that we prioritise theirs too, to ensure that their time spent with us is as happy and fulfilling as possible. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Absolutely right. Now, she was born before women had the right to vote and has lived through 2 world wars and 2 pandemics. And at the age of 105, Joyce Dawes is thought to be the last person still living who lost her father in action in World War I.
Well, now, Joyce's life and her father's are being celebrated in a Kent memorial garden. Abigail Bracken has been to meet her.
Together, Derek? Yes. Right. So this is
a tree planted in Ashford's Memorial Gardens in honour of Joyce's long life, as well as her father's service to the country. Second Lieutenant Alexander Cowling was killed defending a Belgian village in World War I.
So he would have liked to have had this tree planted?
Oh, of course he would. I mean, he was very, very much for the trees and things.
Joyce still has her father's letters that were written from the front line. This one is dated March 1918, about a month before he died, saying that he just had to write because he had to know how little Joyce was.
This liquid amber tree is also part of the Queen's Green Canopy project to mark the Platinum Jubilee.
We had this sort of trilogy, really, of the Platinum Jubilee, 105th birthday, and obviously in the Memorial Gardens there's the link to Joyce's father, because we believe she's the last person living whose father was killed in the First World War, because you'd have to be at least 104 for that to have happened. So it's an astonishing achievement, really.
So what do you think the secret is then of living to 105?
I've always played some sport. I don't smoke. I drink very little. But I mean, the sport I was never very awfully good. I played sport well enough to enjoy it, but not to make a fool of myself.
Good enough to now enjoy her 105th birthday. Abigail Bracken, ITV News, Ashford.
Joyce, many happy returns from us. Wonderful to see there.
And some good tips as well.
Some good tips.
Play sport, but don't be too good. Don't
Yep.
smoke. Drink just a little.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do every day, and your good self, sir.
Don't speak for me.
No, I won't actually, but it's with us now. Pip, yesterday we were talking about hedgehogs, and our viewers have got some lovely pictures of them.
Yes, bit of hedgehog spotting has been going on. Of course, this week is the 40th anniversary of Hedgehog Awareness Week, a chance to look at the problems facing our local hedgehogs, but more importantly, what we can do to help them. More on that in a moment. First up, the snaps. This one comes from Lisa Yebra. She spotted this pair on the hunt for some tasty morsels on the Isle of Sheppey.
Eating?
I don't know. Well, I'll tell you in a minute what they might be eating. Jane Carey had this little visitor getting in on the action and into the food bowl in Ramsgate. And how about this one? Hagrid the Hedgehog ensuring this fox waits his turn, courtesy of Ruth Maria's garden can. But whether you've spotted them or not, there's plenty we can all do to help our local hedgehogs at home. So hedgehog highways first up, ideal for helping hedgehogs to move safely and easily between gardens. It involves making a hole at the base of your fence large enough for a hedgehog to get through. You could create an undisturbed log pile in a quiet spot, not only great for shelter, but a natural food source in the form of bugs and grubs. Speaking of food, maybe this is what they're eating, Sangers. They're pretty partial to meaty cat and dog food, and of course just water to drink. And be careful to check around for any sleepy hedgehogs before mowing or trimming your lawn. Even better, take part in the No Mow May movement. Leave your lawn to its own devices, protecting hedgehogs, helping our pollinators, and it's one less thing on the to-do list, isn't it?
No Mow May.
If you can say it.
I'm in. You've got to do it.
Well done.
Right, let's get a check on the full forecast, see whether it's the weather to cut your grass or not. But we're not going to do it in May, so it doesn't really matter. But with the details, here's Pip.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Well, we've had a fair few showers around today, and it stays a little bit changeable through the next couple of days. Tomorrow set to be dry, bright and fairly warm. A return to cloudier skies and rain through the latter stages of Friday before a drier picture unfolds once again for the weekend. So this is the pressure pattern over the next few days. High pressure with us tomorrow, keeping things fairly dry and settled. Then a front sinks its way southwards later on Friday before that high pressure becomes re-established right across the UK, taking us through Saturday and Sunday. But out there at the moment, still a fair few showers lingering on. These will gradually clear away eastwards through the course of this evening. And from midnight onwards, I think for all of us, it should be dry and fairly clear. But despite the clear skies, it will also be relatively mild, certainly frost-free all round. Temperatures, even in inland rural spots, probably holding up at around 7 or 8 Celsius. Tomorrow morning then, a dry, bright start, some lovely sunshine to kick off the day. I think into the afternoon, a bit more cloud building, but it will stay dry, and temperatures where we see the best of any sunshine will peak at around 19 or even 20 Celsius for some. High tide times for tomorrow then for Margate there, 3:20 in the morning, 3:30 in the afternoon. And then looking beyond that through the latter stages of Thursday overnight into Friday morning, it stays fairly quiet. But you'll notice as Friday unfolds, we'll start to pull in more in the way of cloud from the northwest with the eventual arrival of some outbreaks of rain much later in the day. Now that rain could linger for a time into Saturday morning, but once it clears, the weekend looks set to unfold in a fairly promising fashion. Lots of dry weather, plenty of sunny spells, and feeling fairly warm in the best of that sunshine too.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Now in tomorrow's programme, a team of artists has begun capturing the sounds and voices of one community in Kent to be used as part of a new set of fruit-themed sculptures.
Yes, the recordings are going to create a soundscape inside 3 giant multicoloured apples due to be built as the centrepiece of a new public park at Kings Hill near Maidstone. The work hopes to celebrate the area's present-day diversity along with its proud fruit farming heritage.
I can't wait to see what that all looks like.
Almost as hard to say as No Mow May.
But you did it very well.
Twice.
I'm back with your late news just after 10:30. Mary is next here with the ITV Evening News.
Have a great evening. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.